Have you ever felt like you missed the boat when it comes to investing? If you're new to investing or you haven't even started investing at all, but you have a little bit of knowledge about it, I guarantee you've thought this, man, if I knew then what I know now, I'd be so much further along financially. In fact, I could probably be in a position to where I could retire much sooner. Well, I can tell you, you are not alone when it comes to this. There are so many people that have crossed that age of 40 and either they just started investing or they're thinking about getting started with investing, but they don't think they have enough time to actually make any progress. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over 10 reasons of why it is not too late for you to get started with investing. Reason number one is the power of compounding still works. Now, of course, if you get started earlier with investing, especially in your early 20s, then you have 30, potentially 40 years to invest and let compounding actually grow your account. But if you get started investing at 40 or 45, you still have time to let compound interest actually help grow your account. And to prove that the power of compounding is real, I'm going to run a very quick example for you to show you what it would look like for an individual that's 40 years old and wants to work until they're 65 years old. So they have 25 years to actually invest in an account to help supplement either their 401k or any other savings that they may have. All right, so in this example, like I stated, you're starting with zero. You have 25 years to invest. So this person is 40 years old. And we're going to use an average return of 10% in the stock market. The stock market averages roughly between 8 to 12% average year-on-year return. So we're just going to use 10% because it's right there in the middle. So the interest on this is going to be compounded annually, and we're going to be investing $500 a month. So let's see what that looks like. So after 25 years of investing and compound interest taking effect on this account, we could expect around $615,000 to be in our account at the age of 65. Now, of course, that's just an estimation and nothing is guaranteed. You could absolutely have much more than that, or you could have less depending on market conditions, how much you can invest, etc. But I just want to make sure that I pointed out is just because you didn't get started in your 20s doesn't mean that you can't get started later on in life and actually still build out a decent nest egg for you to retire with, especially if it's supplementing your Social Security or your 401k that you've been investing in. Reason number two is as we get older, we increase our earning potential. Now, for most people, we don't hit our financial strides until we're in our mid 30s to our early 40s. So that's around the time we're going to start making more money than we ever have in our life, which gives us an opportunity to invest more money than we ever have in our life. So if you're in your 40s, you've never invested in the market, but you earn a decent salary, I can almost guarantee you that you're earning more today than you were when you were 25 years old. And that additional income gives us more flexibility to be able to invest either in our corporate sponsored 401k or in our own brokerage account. Now, of course, we all have things going on, that bills and things that we have to pay. But the fact of the matter is you're still earning more money and you need to allocate that more effectively. And as you age and you start managing your money more effectively, this often gives us an opportunity to have more disposable income that we can use to invest. Reason number three is your goals start to become much clearer. Let's face it, when we're in our 20s, none of us are really thinking about retirement. I know whenever I was in my 20s, I couldn't imagine myself even at the age of 45, which I am right now. But as you get older, you really start to think, okay, what's next in life? What's my next chapter of life going to look like? And that's when you start to get much more serious how life after being able to work is going to be. You start to get more laser focused and you start to do the things that you need to ensure that you can have some security once you're no longer able to work. You have other priorities in your life. Maybe you used to travel before and now you're thinking about how you're going to help pay for your kids' college. So once you get a little bit older and your goals start to get much more clearer, you start to become a little bit more laser focused on the end game. Reason number four is we have an opportunity to do catch-up investments in tax-advantaged accounts. So that's our Roth 401ks and our 401ks. Once you pass the age of 50, you are able to invest more money into your 401k. Now, the 401k is not the only avenue for you to invest to be able to retire once you're no longer able to work. But it is absolutely an account that I encourage people to take advantage of. See, most of us have companies that we work at that actually pay a match for you to invest in your 401k. So at a minimum, you should at least be doing the match, if not more. And this is all going to depend on your financial goals and the strategy that you set in place. Being able to invest more in tax advantage accounts will either allow you to delay taxes until after you retire, or it'll allow you to prepay your taxes for a Roth 401k, and you pay those taxes up front, and everything that you earn on that money when you retire, you can withdraw tax-free. Reason number 5 is, as we age, we have more financial wisdom. I mean, think about it. The things that matter to you in your 20s, going out, taking vacations, buying all the latest clothes, they mean much less whenever you're in your 40s, especially if you're starting to get some financial acumen and get some financial literacy. You don't prioritize those things over investing in a brokerage account, building out your savings account, investing in a business, putting more in your 401k. Those things are much more important once you get past 40 than being able to take the latest vacation. At least they should be. Reason number 6 is there's more accessibility when it comes to investing, especially in the stock market. Back in the day, you had to have a broker in order to get into the stock market. And when I started investing, you had to pay a per trade transaction fee, and I believe it was around $7.95. I paid so much money in transaction fees in the beginning because I was buying every other week or once a month into the stock market, and that adds up over time. But now, especially in the US, there are no brokerages that are charging you in order to actually purchase stock. And if you want to invest in something like real estate, there's so many avenues that you can take in order to acquire the funding that it takes in order to pay the down payment on an investment property. But most people stick with the stock market because the barrier to entry is much lower than getting into real estate, and you can get started literally with just like $5. Ease of access to invest, especially in the stock market, has removed so many barriers for people all around the world. Reason number 7 is that it's much easier to diversify your investments in the stock market. I mean, you can go with 2 to 3 index funds or ETFs, and you can almost have the entire stock market virtually covered, meaning you don't have to be an expert when it comes to investing or jumping into the stock market. You don't have to watch stock news all day, every single day. You don't have to be someone that's in the know and understand all of the lingo that people talk about when they talk about investing in the stock market. It's really that simple. You can just jump into the market, invest in something like the S&P 500, which would be something like Vanguard's VOO or SPY, and that's really all you have to do. We always make things so difficult, and there's always people that have all of these exotic ways to invest. And to be quite honest with you, to me, it's just noise. It may work for them, but to me, it's just noise. Reason number 8 is not investing in the market is going to impact you from an inflation perspective. I was one of those people in my 20s that thought that I should just load up my savings account. That's where we were taught to hold our money. You put it in the bank, you leave it alone, and you save, save, save. And you didn't put money into the stock market because that's like going into a casino. But one thing that I learned quickly was that putting my money in a savings account that was gaining less than 1% interest, while in normal times we have 3 to 4% inflation, my money was losing its buying power by the day, especially by the year. Think about the people that have a large amount of money in a savings account and they have that in there for over a decade. Think about how the value of their money has diminished over time. I believe you can't afford not to invest in something. It doesn't have to be the stock market. It doesn't have to be real estate, but you have to invest in something. Otherwise, inflation is eroding away the value of your dollar. Reason number 9 is you want to be able to retire with some dignity and possibly leave something to your children or your grandchildren. Most people in the community where I'm from and the people that I know were never really handed down an opportunity to have any type of wealth or knowledge when it comes to investing. So even if you can't leave money, right? You can't leave money, a ton of money to your kids, your grandkids. the knowledge that you can pass down, the wisdom that you can share about investing and how important it is, and being able to actually do things that will allow you to actually be in control of your financial future, that's worth its weight in gold. I mean, I think the old saying is, why give a man a fish when you can teach him how to fish? That's never been a more truer statement when it comes to investing. Reason number 10 is just having peace of mind. Over the last few weeks, there have been so much turmoil and upheaval in the world, especially here in the US. Government was shut down for the longest term in US history. And I don't think that this is going to be the last time where we see something like this occur. And one thing that most of us should have learned from this is that we have to be the ones that are in control of our financial futures. We cannot allow governments and outside entities to be able to have any type of leeway or sway in our life, especially once we retire. Most of us will work our entire lives. And whenever it's time to retire and actually enjoy the fruits of our labor, we don't want to have to be in a position to where we're so concerned about how we're going to pay our rent, how we're going to pay our mortgage, how we're going to eat, how we're going to live. We can do the things right now that will help secure our future tomorrow. So if you're one of those people that thinks, hey, I'm 45 or I'm 50 or I'm 38 and it's too late for me, I should have started investing much sooner and now it's too late. I'm telling you that's not the case. I have a small portfolio builder challenge that I'm doing right here on my channel, where I take individual index funds and I invest a certain amount of money in them every single day. And I plan to do that for as long as possible. Now, if you haven't started investing, you don't know how to invest, or you want to invest, but you're not sure what to invest in, make sure you check out the next video where I go into my $5 a day investment journey since January of 2024.